Okay, next question. Jeff says, why did McLaren give Norris the advantage? This one is actually quite annoying over the last few days, because obviously since the Hungarian Grand Prix, a lot of people are quite annoyed about the fact that Norris got preferential treatment by the team. And then it's gone as far as a lot of people on Twitter, for example, and in YouTube comments saying that they should be given the same strategy for it to be a fair fight. I completely disagree. I am loving the way McLaren are going fighting with this. And, you know, it basically, it's tough as well on Norris at points. It's tough on Piastri at points, but I think it's the way it should be. Look, they didn't give, to answer the blunt question, they did not give Norris preferential treatment. What happened was Norris was behind, and therefore if he had have gone on the quote-unquote faster strategy, which most people went on and was the quicker strategy, he would have gone on the two-stop strategy, right? If he went on that, the preferred strategy, then Piastri would have got preference just automatically because Piastri was ahead. Piastri would have been able to undercut at both stops and would have won the race with pretty much ease. Basically, he took the race win from the start. He outqualified him. And, you know, he was away at turn one. So Piastri would have got preferential treatment. Essentially, Norris was in no man's land. He was in fourth, I think, by the point that they were talking about the strategies. He had nothing to lose by just gambling, because if he went on a two-stop strategy, he was probably finishing second. If he went on a one-stop strategy, he was probably finishing second. So the gamble was there to just basically try a one-stop. And at that point in the race, everybody thought that the one-stop would be slower. The proof of that, in my opinion, is the fact that Alonso really had to play that strategy to make a one-stop work. He essentially became, a one-man chicane at the front of the pack and held everyone up for long enough to manage his tires before then booming it down the road and taking advantage of the one-stop after 39 laps on the medium. So the one-stop wasn't the better strategy. No one thought it would be at that point. So Norris had to make it work, his team had to make it work, and they had nothing to lose by trying it, so they tried it. And in fairness to Norris, he had to hold off under pressure to Piastri at the end, and it wasn't a given that he'd win that race. Piastri had a faster tyre with an offset by the end of the race, and, you know, Norris had to make no mistakes. If Norris made one mistake by running longer on that tyre, he would have lost the race, and he didn't. So credit to Norris where credit's due. We give that credit to everyone else if they were in that situation. Why not Norris? So in answer to the blunt part of the question, they didn't give Norris preferential strategy. Now, to get on to the part that has been irking me a little bit is that, look, I want to see a title fight. It may not, for some of you, be the most exciting title fight because you may not think that Piastri and Norris are good enough to give us a title fight and all of these things. And I know Verstappen fans are just, you know, they just hate Norris. They're not, you know, they seem to like Piastri for now. I think that'll change. Hamilton fans, Leclerc fans, all of them hate Norris. I get it. It's fine. Whatever. I get that you don't think this is the most exciting title fight, right? But for me, what people are calling for now, simply because Norris won, I think if Piastri had won, no one would be calling for this. I'm calling it out. I just think that's the case. I genuinely do think so. But because Norris won, essentially, people are saying it's unfair. You know, you took the win away from Piastri, all of these things, and that they should be put on the exact same strategy. And the argument is, I want them on the exact same strategy because I want to see a title fight. But I call BS on that, because if you want them on the exact same strategy, then basically what you're saying is you want it to be a qualifying and turn one fight. Because at the end of the day, if you put them on the exact same strategy, whoever's leading at turn one wins basically every time. And the reason I say that is because whoever is ahead of turn one gets preference to pit first. That's how McLaren have been playing it. That's their rules. So if you're the lead driver, you get to come in first. Essentially, they are not allowing the number two driver to undercut. They've been pretty explicit about this the entire time. And essentially, they don't want the number two driver or the driver who's second on the grid to undercut. So what will happen is if Piastri or Norris is ahead of turn one, then they will just win the race because they will be able to undercut, which will give them a preference at most racetracks this season. And therefore, it's down to overtaking on track on the exact same tires in the exact same cars, which means the guy behind is even further at a disadvantage because not only has he been undercut, he's now also trying to overtake in dirty air without any sort of tire advantage. I think that's more boring racing because you're essentially calling the race at turn one. And here's my argument for it. I like the fact that they have essentially said to both garages, right, treat this as if you're driving for different teams. The pit wall will interfere if it's a case of you're going to crash into each other. They are left to their own devices. It's just don't crash into each other. And therefore, the two sides of the garage are allowed to play strategy against each other. My argument as to why that's better is if you don't do it that way, then you're making it an artificial championship, which, like I said, is just won at turn one every weekend, which is more boring than this. The simple fact is if this was Max versus Piastri, of course you're going to have strategy differences. So why do you want it to not be a strategy difference when it's the two drivers in the same team? Like if this was Max versus Piastri and Piastri had qualified better and Piastri was going on to the two-stop and Max, for whatever reason, was in P4 and then he ran a one-stop, people would be praising Verstappen and Red Bull for calling out a brilliant strategy, delivering it and bringing it home. So for me, this is nothing to do with people being annoyed about them playing different strategies. This is just people just not wanting Norris to win. In my book, I don't see it any other way. I just don't see the argument as to why it's not more exciting. I just think it's obviously more exciting if both sides of the garage can play strategies against each other. Otherwise, we just get a qualifying championship for the rest of the year. I don't know. And I saw a few people who are like, it should be whoever leads into turn one when I argued it on Twitter, which just tells me, okay, so you just wanted Piastri to win and beat Norris. Like, that's all the argument is. So if you have a different argument on it and you'd like to explain why, tell me in the comments, but I don't see one.